Okay, we're starting hot and we're starting heavy on this one. Rink Rat Report Podcast, recording this one after the Philadelphia Flyers game. Austin Matthews is the best goal scorer to touch planet Earth. I don't care who you cheer for. I don't care where you watch the games. I don't care how you watch the games. I don't care how inebriated you watch the games. It kind of shows where I was watching this one. Austin Matthews is the best goal scorer to touch this planet. I'm sorry. If you watch all three of those goals, ask yourself this. Did Samuel Harrison, who's having a good year, by the way, if you haven't heard of him, it's because you just haven't been paying attention. Samuel Harrison's having a good year. Was there any screen in front of him on any of those
Nope.
goals? Were any of
Based
those
all those shots
deflected? Were those all clean shots on goal? Two of them were clean, clear, and under control, and one of them was a one-timer. It beat him clean. He's going to be thinking about those for the next few months. If the Leafs somehow face them in the playoffs, obviously because it's the Leafs, Austin Matthews is going to go cold and not score a single goal on him. But say Austin Matthews plays for Team X. Samuel Harrison's, he's going to have to replace a few Manscaped underwears there, is he not? That was an insane display of goal scoring effort. You could probably fact check me on that. Was that not 3 goals in 7 minutes?
Yes, 3 goals, 7 minutes, 3 goals in 16 minutes of like actual real lifetime.
Real life 16 minutes.
It's like,
what can you do in 16 minutes? I'll tell you what you can do in Toronto. You can go from one intersection to the other. That's it. That's all.
I can think of a couple ways my girlfriend would want me to use 16 minutes, but I think she only gets
16 minutes is what you use on the toilet at work. I can guarantee that.
All right.
That's a sick joke, what we saw tonight. I told someone, I was like, oh, as a joke, I was like, hey, like, he was on a cold streak. And then they're like, didn't he score against Ottawa on Saturday?
Yeah, I guess. You know what? Yeah.
I kind of forgot that goal was gross, too. It was just a big old whack, too. So,
honestly, that's a cold streak, though, for Austin Matthews. If he didn't score the game previously, then he's on a cold streak.
Well, never mind. I mean, earlier in the year, it was either he scored 4 goals or he didn't score at all. So, what's that this year? 4 hat tricks, I want to say, 5. Off the top of the noggin. This guy is belligerent. This guy is disgusting. This guy is just the best goal scorer on planet Earth. Welcome, everyone, to the Rink Rat Report Podcast. As always, joined by Jason.
It's a great, fun week. A lot of stuff happened. A lot of interesting stuff happened.
Yeah. Not an ad, but shout out to Dublin Calling. They have a great setup for hockey right there. I went to go get something at the counter. I'm like, oh, got to be careful. Got to go in between whistles. I'm going to miss the game, right? So I go to the counter. Okay, they have a TV there. And I'm carefully bringing it back to the table. Kind of turn one way. Oh, okay, the game's there. All right, I'm good on this side. I turn slowly. Oh, okay. Game's over there as well. Oh, okay, the game's over there as well. Game's over there as well. Anywhere I turn, and they put the volume on. Anywhere I turned, the game was on. So shout out Dublin Calling. What a spot. Right below Rockin' Horse there. You've heard of that one. But anyways, so we're going to get into the Sens game. We're going to get into the St. Louis game. And we're going to get into the Philadelphia Flyers debauchery. I don't even know what to consider that game. That was a little bit of a weird one. But and then one. In the big part of the episode, the big meat and potatoes part of the episode, we're going to get into some hypothetical trades because one was thrown out by Daily Faceoff. Usually, Frank Seraph Spaghetti, he doesn't really like the Leafs. But one was thrown out that a lot of Leafs fans were like, this was not bad. So want to examine that. Want to examine some other ones. I came up with some off the top of my head. But first, before we get into all of that, I want to give a big shout out to our friends over at Manscaped. 2024 is here in full swing, and that means it's time for a New Year's resolution check-in with our friends at Manscaped. Newsflash, it's never too late to level up your grooming game and keep your bush tamed. Manscaped's new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're going for a trim or that clean-shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. Trusted by over 10 million men worldwide, now is your time to get a grip on your grooming with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use the code RINKRAT, that is RINKRAT, for 20% off and free shipping. The ball has dropped, but don't drop the ball on your balls. I thought they would use something more clever, but they just said balls here. How's your New Year's resolution holding up? That's what they ask me. I know they want to say, yeah, my balls are squeaky clean. Thank you to our guys at Manscaped, and thank them for sticking with us for so long. They're actually fantastic. So let's get into it. Do you want to talk Riley suspension? I know we record at the awkward time. The most awkward part about recording once a week. Probably should have done one on Sunday. Didn't have time. Sorry. But the most awkward time, you record middle of the week. Something happens on the weekend. By the time we come back to the mic, it's old news. So Morgan Riley, 5-game suspension for cross-checking Ridley Gregg. Deservedly so. It's currently being appealed by Riley and his team in New York in person. Jason, too much or too little? Real quick, we'll give it 5 minutes.
No, honestly, I'm down to talk about this for even longer if we have to, because it's going to be recent news again if the suspension gets if and when it gets reduced, because it's crazy. I'm sorry, it's obvious from the video that it rides up the shoulder into his head, which is we've seen that as an explanation before, that if the intent is to hit the shoulder and it rides up, they don't treat it as drastically.
Correct. You want to hear what the video explained it as?
What?
We understand Morgan Riley's defense that it hit his shoulder and went up to his neck. However, it shouldn't have been that high anyways. He had time to.
So that's just inconsistent. This is going to be the set. I don't know how. I don't know how
inconsistent.
How many times has Gary Bettman reduced his suspension? I actually don't know, but the last one I remember was the Jason Spezza one, and it's how embarrassing is that you're gonna have I honestly can't say when the last one was, but if it's Jason Spezza and then now Morgan Riley, that's kind of embarrassing for George Peros. No, the commissioner has to step in and say hey buddy, you're not doing your job properly. Be more unbiased and fair in these rulings, because
it was a 2-game reduction.
But still, it's
the thing is. Player safety, people complain, player safety used to release these videos. They still do. And watch them because they're horrible. They're awful. If you compare them, if you actually start watching all of them and compare them video to video, they just pick and choose what the hell they choose. Oh, this happened in this play. Ooh, the puck was way, way over there. That's part of the suspension. That's part of the reasoning we're going to include. And then the next one, this happened in the playoffs, by the way. This is a real example. The playoffs, same thing happens, and they just choose not. The puck was way out of play, but we're not going to include that. 2 games. It's outrageous how inconsistent they are. I don't understand. For the life of me, I do not understand. Why do we need a former player in charge of the Department of Player Safety if they're not going to take into account things that a player would, hey, from my personal experience, hey, from playing the game, this is what we're going to include. If he's not going to do that, why the hell is he in that job? I'm positive. I almost want to look it up, but it would be a waste of time and I don't care that much. I'm sure there's a lawyer that used to play minor pro hockey. Why is he not the head of the player safety? Because the way that they evaluate and the way that they put forth their arguments is nowhere near close to what a lawyer would do. It's closer to what someone that's hammered would do. So, anyways,
it worked.
Morgan Riley's suspension in summation is just, it's garbage and it will be reduced. I am putting my stamp on that. It will be reduced because it's garbage.
Yeah, and it's honestly embarrassing, to have a suspension reduced because again, you strategically made it 5 games so that you couldn't have it go to like a neutral arbitrator, so that it would only go to the commissioner. Like, it's like that's also the annoying part of player safety. It's like you hand out, like, you're like, how in God's name is that play anything close to be equal or even worse or close to as worse as the Brandon Gallagher hit? Like, that actually, like, that
so
was
those are
dangerous.
2 different ones. But Blake Lizotte cross-checked someone in the face after the play and got 1 game.
Yeah, it's like it's incredibly inconsistent, but like, again, you can't expect consistency here. It's just going to be funny to watch. Like, I believe the ruling comes out Thursday or Friday. Friday at noon is when the meeting is. It's gonna be funny to watch when when it does get reduced again. So like, it's just I think it's like a embarrassing thing for the Department of Player Safety to have
3 games. Right? Morgan Riley's already served 2. Yeah. So, and in Morgan Riley
might be back.
Actually,
might be back next game.
Who knows?
Practicing
at forward last practice because so many players were under the weather. So crazy. That was kind of funny. Anyways, that's Morgan Riley talk. Exactly. I think we hit exactly 5 minutes. That's all there needs to be said. Joke. Anywho, let's get into the games. Let's get into tonight's game specifically. How did you think the Leafs played tonight?
The first period wasn't as good as the second period, and then the second period was the best period, and then the third period wasn't as good as the second. So it was like,
yeah, pretty much
up and down, I guess. Up and down play. I really thought, like, obviously Austin Matthews scores 3 goals. That was sick. But like, if we put that aside for a second, the Leafs really controlled play in that second period, which was really good to see. And like, it felt like they were playing pretty well there. In the third period, a couple mental mistakes from individual players led to 2 bad goals. The power play, yeah, doesn't look that
power play to power play. There was like the power play they scored looked good, sure, but like the break-ins on the first couple, it was atrocious.
I think that, like, just the play that sticks out is like, if you're on that wall as the winger and you're stationary, you got to like instantly rim it. You can't be trying to like do like small solves and trying to get around defensemen. It's not going to work like that, right? Like, because
if you're under pressure, correct.
Yeah, if you're under pressure
on the wall, double team especially.
Yeah, you got to rim it.
Why are you trying to make an extra 3 moves? Max Domi did it. William Nylander did it, and it led to chances the other way. And one was a goal.
Yeah, and that's not like the design of the break-in is that if the forward breaking in the puck, it receives pressure, you bump it to the guy on the wall, and then the guy on the wall makes a decision whether to skate it in or rim it, or like, I don't think it's ever the right decision to try and like use your hands to make a solve there, because it's just too dangerous.
Risk reward is insane.
Yeah, it's just too dangerous there. But like, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I've seen that happen a little too many times where it's worked. So maybe I doubt that that's like the idea behind it. Because if you like, yeah, I don't know. That's also just how the break-in works, right? It's like, if you're pressured when you break in, you got to pass it off. But that person who receives that pass has to make the right decision. I think the wrong decision was made.
Make a hockey decision, right? Yeah. Like, it's really not that hard. Like Max Domi on that first goal, I was amazed because he was under pressure by one guy. He was able to kind of get out of it. I was like, ooh, that was surprising. Like, get it in, just throw it anywhere, bud. Like, you're under pressure from a second guy. He tries to make another move. Like, I understand you played 18 minutes last game. That shouldn't inflate your ego that much, because then the puck just goes back the other way. Chance from Travis Konechny, I think it was, off the inside of the post, and then Travis Sanheim was wide open in front of the net because I don't know why, but yeah, the power play really, really struggled to move the puck into this. Like, that's something, even when the power play wasn't that good, remember there was a stretch. They went on a decent little stretch of not scoring any goals. The break-ins were always solid. The break-ins were always crisp. Tonight, it was god awful for a lot of it. Somehow they ended up with the power play goal, but I mean, that's just Austin Matthews. That's just 34, plain and simple. So that was one thing that really, really bugged me. But to go back to what you said about second was better than the first, second was better than the third also. I think they started pretty well right off the hop, that chance from Marner to Nyes. And then on top of that, like they had the puck a lot. They had some good possessions, not necessarily resulting in chances, but they were getting some good puck touches. And then they get that power play, and then they get scored on the power play, and then the rest of the period is spent in their zone. So I thought that was kind of a weird like momentum shift. I mean, wouldn't you think, hey, you got possession, you have the possession numbers behind you, you got a power play. Where do you think the game's going to shift? And then it's just,
the other way.
Oh, you turn. So that was kind of weird to me. But I definitely agree with that. The second was their best period. They played very, very well. And Austin Matthews just willed his way to a victory tonight. I will say this. Tyler Bertuzzi made a little video about how snake bitten he is. He had a really, really good chance. That offensive zone penalty, just
not, wrong place, wrong time. Like, can't do that.
Oh,
and he sat. I don't think he played a shift after that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't think he did. I don't think Nyes did.
Yeah, Nyes and Bertuzzi both sat. Nyes after the first goal obviously sat, and then Bertuzzi was on the next shift after that first goal, and then he didn't play again. Important to note that both William Nylander and John Tavares on his line obviously played after that, and same thing with Matthews and Marner, who were on Nyes' line as well. So,
do you mean first goal, like the first goal of the game?
Sorry, first goal of that third period, second goal of the game for the Flyers. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I meant. Like the previous goal, the second goal, and then the third goal, because the third goal was from the Bertuzzi penalty.
That makes sense.
But obviously not great. What did you make of I guess this wasn't a great interpretation of that Robertson Domi Bertuzzi line. Also, the lines were kind of all mixed up all game, so it was like hard to,
because you benched two wingers.
Yeah,
how many wingers do you have, really?
Bertuzzi didn't play for like a long stretch. It looks like when I'm looking at his shift chart now. But anyways, sorry.
What did he really do? I mean, he had that one chance, but I mean, tough game for them. I was very happy that they were put back together because they had such a good game against St. Louis. But that's the thing. Like, I was arguing with some, like, they were like, oh, the Leafs look like they have some good jump tonight. They look like they're trying hard tonight against St. Louis. I think St. Louis just looked like shit. Yeah. I'm sorry. St. Louis did not forecheck at all. That's where the Leafs' main weakness is. If you forecheck their D, they can't move the puck out very, very well. If you don't, then the Leafs are going to absolutely just slap the shit out of you. Plain and simple, especially if your neutral zone D is not very good. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, like Brody looked great last game. Like everyone looked fantastic. They gave up 15 shots. They didn't have $33 million worth of players in their roster. But St. Louis just showed up and shit the bed, I gotta say.
No, right? Yeah. I was at that game and I was watching it live and I was literally saying the exact same things that you're saying. Like, and I checked. I thought I wasn't sure if we were texting each other during it. We weren't. So it's like you saw the exact same things that I saw. They were so soft on their forecheck, the Blues, brutal. And they were just giving the team the neutral zone when their best, the Leafs' number one defenseman this year is not playing. Like, you're just giving it away for free. It was crazy. I don't know if it was tactics, if they were tired because they were in Montreal the night before. Like, what I don't know what it was. I have no idea what it was. Maybe they wanted to play it soft and their video coach needs to be fired. No offense,
that's a tactic if Paris, Texas is in the cards the night before. Oh my God. Terrible.
I can say for sure they weren't in the city the night before and they left the night of. So it's not even like they got to spend a night in Toronto. So I think they were in
a cool game.
They were, like I think, were they on a back-to-back or maybe they were in Montreal the night before?
That's supposedly that was supposedly the hottest team in the NHL. They were winning all these games. They're 8-2 or whatever in their last 10. I actually haven't checked. I have no idea. They looked horrific in that one. They got a couple rush chances, but then like they flubbed off their own stick, got interrupted, this and that. Like, I know the Leafs didn't have much in their lineup and they looked pretty good, but St. Louis at the same time looked like complete shit.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents. The
No,
Flyers looked a lot better. The Flyers play. That's a team. Beginning of the year, I would have told you they're going to finish quadruple last place because I didn't think much of Sean Couturier, who might be hurt. Who knows? Hopefully not. Fingers crossed. But that team, we looked at the numbers before we went on air. The Leafs had the Corsi 4 advantage in this game, which means shot attempts. They had more shot attempts than the Flyers. But the Flyers had more quality chances, more actual shots on goal. Why is that? They felt like they clogged the middle of the ice very well, and they forechecked pretty good on the Leafs D, and they didn't. It wasn't easy exits. That was a tough win for the Leafs, and they got pretty lucky that Austin Matthews got time and space with the puck because we all know how that works.
Yeah, no, they've been crazy good this year. It's weird to see. So good for them, I guess. I don't know. It's the Flyers.
I didn't bet. Spot, right?
I didn't bet the regular season win total unders. Their total points.
Have you already lost that one?
It's not, but it's going to lose I'm like 10 points away from losing that. So it's not good. It's already like being a loser, like 60 games in the season is never good for your confidence. Right. So that was, wow. Yeah, that was a bad one. Anything else you want to touch on for the Blues or the last 3 games here?
From the last few games, the Blues game, like Bobby McMahon hat trick, which is an awesome story. I mean, when you look at it, he was supposed to be a scratch in that game, but then Marner and Tavares went down with illnesses, so he was able to get back into the lineup. 3 goals, like what else can you say? That's just awesome to see. On top of that, the Blues game, I mean, the Bertuzzi Domi, it's just so interesting to see the contrast of, like, I want to say that the common denominator behind it is Domi Robertson from game to game.
Yeah.
Because of their speed. Like, if you have a bit of a slower team, no matter how good your team is, if you have a bit of a slower team, like, those 2 guys will expose you. But if you don't, and you're actually able to play defense, then those guys are just a giant negative to the Leafs. Like, the ups and downs with them are insane. And that just puts the Leafs in such an awkward position, because if you were to ask me after last game, what do you think of Domi Robertson? I'd be singing their praises. But after this one, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Depends on the matchup.
That's a good point. It does depend on the matchup. And Robertson felt like wasn't that good tonight, but it feels like the last 2 games he really stuck out to me.
Yes, he was good.
He was good, but you're right. It could be like a matchup dependent thing where just depends on the opposing forward lines that he gets, like you said, matched up against. If he has a good game or not, which is not bad, but also not the most ideal thing, right? You want someone who can kind of play against anyone, but hey, at least he looks good against bad competition, or not. I don't want to call it bad competition. At least he looks good against some competition. That's the first step, right? Like, so
I guess. I will say this: the Ottawa game was extremely disappointing to lose that one.
Yeah,
it was just a couple big defense. Like, the Leafs gave up the big error, I will say, in those ones. Yeah. Riley throwing it into Marner's feet and then skating straight up the ice. Shout out to Sportsnet for giving us the absolute worst camera views of that goal I've ever seen in my entire life. I have no idea what happened in the neutral zone, and thank you for that. But there was that goal, which just times space for Ottawa. Oh my God. And then the Tarasenko goal, where it was Lagesson chipping it to nobody at the other team's blue line, from center to the other team's blue line. I have no idea why he did that. And then not being able to get back. On top of that, Domi not back checking hard enough. Just like big errors. But I thought overall the Leafs had the better chances in that one. They had more chances. Like, it just felt like what I've been saying post All-Star game. Their goalie gave them more saves than what our goalie gave us, right? And that was the big difference. On top of that, the Leafs didn't get one single power play, so that killed them. McCabe high-sticked on one of Ottawa's, right before one of Ottawa's goals. I'm not going to complain about that, but that was horse shit.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, then the Leafs had a goal taken away from them. So when you look at it line by line, Matthews' line played awesome that night. 2 goals for. Marner was on for one of them, whatever. But the second line had 3 great chances in the first. Nothing after that, unfortunately. And they were on for 2 goals against. So, okay, that sucks. Third line was on for 1 for, 1 against. Kind of evens it out. They had the majority of the chances in that one. And then fourth line, who cares in that one?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was a back and forth game. I thought the Leafs had the edge in that one. Martin Jones played okay. Maybe one of them should have been had, but it wasn't a brutal game overall, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was good. Yeah, that game's almost already out of my mind already. I was going to say something, but I completely forgot about it. So, yeah, it is what it is.
It was an interesting one. I thought that, I don't know. Anyways, could have went either way. Noah Gregor's offside by an inch.
Yeah, that's I think I was going to mention
was the difference between 2-0 and 1-1.
Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes it was that the disallowed goals and the whistles not going your way. I found it funny when I don't know if you saw the interview with McCabe where it was Masters trying to ask him about the refereeing and stuff, and his face is like he has a black eye, bruised, his cuts all over his face, and he's like, you look at a guy's face like that, and you're thinking, how many penalties has this guy drawn in the last 2 games that he's played? 0, just 0. It's like, or last 3 games, because I'm thinking of the Dallas Stars game too, 0 penalties in 3. It's crazy. Anyways, I thought that was hilarious to see. But
once that cut opens, though, anything that touches it is going to open it back up.
No, for sure.
That interference call last game was on Domi. After
that was brutal.
That was horse shit as well. So,
but it's getting to that point now where the referees are also mailing it in. So,
I guess.
What are you going to do?
Anyways, so that was the last 3 games. I think the Leafs played pretty well against Ottawa and St. Louis. I'd give Philadelphia the edge in this one. I thought they played better. I thought Samsonov actually had to make more than a few good saves in this one. The Leafs' chances that they got were kind of they missed. So I would definitely give the edge to Philadelphia in this game. And I'd say, hey, Samsonov, hey. Thanks for hey, there you are. Thanks for coming out. What a game. So
yeah,
that was my thought on that.
Yeah.
So those were the games from this past week. Do you want to get into a little bit of hypothetical trades?
Yeah, but before we do, I want to talk about some hypothetical scenarios where Matthews could win the Hart Trophy this year. Currently, right now on DraftKings, he's priced at 12-1 to win the Hart. And I mean, you got to think if he scores 70 goals, he's got to be in the conversation for the Hart there. I don't know how you do that. So anyways, just wanted to bring that up from DraftKings Sportsbooks. We know hockey moves very fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can get $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Like I mentioned before, Austin Matthews, 12-1 right now to win the Hart. I mean, if the team does well and Austin Matthews scores 70, I don't know how he's on the conversation, but go check out all the odds available from anything from hard odds, Rocky Richard odds, Vezina odds, even to team futures, who's going to win the Stanley Cup, regular season point totals. All that fun stuff is available over at DraftKings.com. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers can bet, get $5 on the NHL to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE-NEW YORK 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gambling resources. NHL and NHL Shields are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League there. So Just a quick shout out to our sponsors over at DraftKings. Use code THPN.
Yep. Hell yeah. All right. Hypothetical trades.
Let's do it.
Do you have the one up from Daily Faceoff? Daily Faceoff posted some hypothetical trades on Valentine's Day. They called it matchmaker or whatever. I don't know. Anyways, they had an interesting one between the Leafs and Calgary. And Jason, you have that up on your screen?
I do, but I want to kind of like start with a smaller one first that's up here. It's the Chris Tanis with Dallas Stars one, but we could easily just swap Dallas Stars for the Leafs in this one, and I feel like it could make a lot of sense here. Also, considering that one of the conditions in the trade is that if Dallas were to reach the West final, we can make that the East final. I feel like that'd be more enticing for the Calgary Flames because, hey, who knows what's going to happen with them this year? Probably miss the playoffs, but if they don't, who knows, right? So
they're in the race. They're playing some good hockey
somehow, some way. But so this one for Dallas, pretty simple. Chris Tanev for a conditional second round pick that would become a first if Dallas reaches the Western Finals. Now the problem is we don't have a second round pick, but if we were able to coerce,
that's the only issue. I feel like it would have already happened. The Leafs had a second round pick. They don't.
But let's say the Leafs did or find a way to get the second round pick while also maintaining a first round pick here, right? Would you be okay with a condition of Leafs giving second round pick with the condition of if they reach the Eastern final, they give a first?
Yeah, 100%. Like no doubt about it.
That was pretty easy.
I think Chris Tanev is a great defensive defenseman. I understand he has miles on that tread right now. He blocks a ton of shots. He plays like a heavy game, even though he's not that physical and he doesn't hit that much. It's just that he blocks so many shots and he gets in front of so many shots and he takes so many hits that like at 34, you're like, he's just bound to get injured or not look very good in the playoffs. But, that's part of the gamble right there. I think Chris Tanev would complement the Leafs decor fairly well right now. So I would do a conditional second, turns into a first if you make the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, that's the more boring one. Let's get to the more fun one. And I honestly, when you sent this to me, I was actually shocked because like some of the names in here, I just didn't expect it to be this big. Number one, number two, like I didn't expect either of these guys to be in like a hypothetical trade from Frank Cervelli. But anyways, I'll stop being around the bush here. So it'd be Noah Hannafin, who is a UFA this year, and I believe it mentions in this article that it would come with the assumption that Noah Hannafin would get an extension, right? I believe it says that.
Okay.
So there's that. And then also you would get Andrew Mangiapane, who is signed for, I believe, one more year after this, and it would be a 50% retain. So you get Mangiapane at 50% retain, he'd be making $2.9 million over the next 2 years. You'd have to give up a first round pick, a third round pick, a fifth round pick, all from 2024. You'd have to give up Ryan Reeves for cap purposes. You'd have to give up Nick Robertson, and you'd have to give up Topi Niemela. What are your thoughts on that one?
I would almost definitely do that. I mean, Andrew Mangiapane at 50% retained right now feels like that would be a first plus. Like whatever. Remember Blake Coleman he was 50% retained. He was only $900K. So that's important to keep in mind there. But Andrew Mangiapane right now has 8 even strength goals and 19 even strength assists. He doesn't play power play. He's over a point every other game. Excuse me. He hits a little bit in there too. Like, I think he's worth a ton in there, especially if you're getting him next year at 2.9. I will caveat this. Calgary hates retaining contracts. And why would they retain if they're kind of competitive right now? And then for next year, they're going to get rid of Mangiapane and retain on that salary too? I think it would have to be a hell of a lot more than Nick Robertson and Topi Niemela for that.
Do you think one more, do you think it feels like you're giving up a lot here, but Fraser Minton, if you throw him in as well, does that
I think it would have to be Cowan.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for that. But if you could get away with throwing in Fraser Minton and getting those guys back, I think
Wow. That's
if you
huge
do,
because you love Fraser Minton.
no, it's not even that I don't love him. It's like the purpose of Fraser Minton is to come in and fill like one of those contract slots on a cheap deal. But if you get Andrew Mangiapane, who'd make 2.9 for the next year, it gives you a bridge year almost.
That's perfect.
It's mass. It's insane. Like it's actually insane, and it helps us a lot this year, like right now. So yeah,
at least have issues with guys outside of like the core guys being able to actually put the puck inside of the back of the net. So adding Andrew Mangiapane, who's put up 35 before, would be massive.
Who's
massive. So
a
that
good
would be
goal scoring
awesome.
talent.
Exactly. So there's that. Noah Hanifin, just the issue with him, I feel like he's going to go for way more than what he actually is, because he's former fourth overall pick, fifth overall pick. My bad. What was that draft? That was McDavid. Correct me if I'm wrong. Right. It was McDavid, Eichel, Dylan Strome, Mitch Marner, Noah Hanifin out of Boston College. Okay, there we are. And then Pavel Zacha, sixth, I believe. So I feel like he's minutes munching. He kind of does. He plays offense. He plays defense. I feel like he's like decent at both, but isn't anything exceptional. I mean, just what scares me off is the fact that the Flames offered him like $60 million and he didn't say yes. Go. Sign. Get that check to the bank before it bounces. Like, is Noah Hanifin worth $60 million? I don't think so. So you're kind of left with that. So I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely depends on what the contract is and what the term is. And also just to play like, listen, I would do the deal, but just to play like a devil's advocate of it and like saying like, hey, maybe reasons why you shouldn't do the deal. First of all, we already have it feels like not a logjam at lefty, but you're trading a righty for a lefty. Obviously, Noah Hanifin is better than Timothy Liljegren, but a constant theme this year that we've been talking about is
Niemela. Liljegren wasn't in that, was he?
Shoot, what am I saying? Liljegren was not in that. Sorry, my brain.
Niemela's right-handed, but he's not.
Yeah, but that doesn't even matter. That wasn't where I was going with this. Sorry, it was more so that we want TJ Brody on the left side, and I know that's a 1-year thing. Correct. But like preferably you have TJ Brody on the left side. So, if you do that, that obviously is not possible. And also with that's like the only thing I can think about. And then also the cap hit of what it's going to cost to carry Noah Hanifin after, like you said, after this year. Is it going to be worth it? We're already paying Morgan Riley $7 million, $7.5 million. Like with how many forwards are getting paid right now, can we afford another big ticket defenseman, right? Like on top of that, you have to think, okay, maybe next year we might be able to afford it, but then Joseph Wall's up. Does he look, right? Is he going to start commanding a larger salary here too? So there's a lot of, it's a multi-layered factor, like multi-layered factors as to why maybe this might be a little bit more complicated than it looks on the surface. But I still think if like this is possible, you got to pull the trigger on it. Just because it makes you
from the Leafs end, I would 100% do it.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And even if you'd have to give a little bit more, I'm still okay with giving a little bit more.
Would you do this deal, exact same deal, but instead of Niemela, it's Cowan?
Probably not. Maybe that's like an overvalue of Easton Cowan, but like he's the one guy in our system who is like, he's also the freshest guy in the system. And this always happens where the freshest guy seems like he has top 6 upside. And then, but just the way he's played this year in the OHL for London, it's just like, I mean, I wouldn't like, I would just hold on to him and let him just grow and mature. Cause in 2 years, he might be like a legit NHL contributor once he gets size and kind of fills out his frame.
Exactly.
So
I'm trying to look up. I thought Calgary had like a good defense prospect that was an offensive guy, but turns out Jeremy Poirier. Here we go. I don't know much about this guy. He has only played 4 games this year. He had 41 points in 69 games last year. So do they want another 6'1" offensive D-man? He's left-handed, and he hasn't played this year really. So I have no idea. I'm just kind of speculating, bringing that up. That's the thing you got to remember with Topi Niemelä. Like, is he really going to be a top 4 two-way guy? From what I've seen, like, I don't fully see that yet. Maybe he needs time to season, but I'll continue to watch. I'll continue to be unbiased and just bringing forth some questions. You know what I mean? But anyways, so the original trade, can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, let me pull it up here quickly. So it was all from 2024. It was a 2024 first from the Leafs, a third from the Leafs. This is from New York, though. Calgary's 5th that we're sending back to Calgary. Ryan Reeves for cap purposes. Nick Robertson and Topi Niemelä for Noah Hannafin and Andrew Mangiapane, 50% retained, assuming this is trade. It falls with the assumption that Hannafin would come with an extension on the way back.
Yeah. So 100% yes, I would do that.
Yeah.
I just don't think Calgary would do that.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest issue, is that Calgary wouldn't do this either. So,
but that's the right idea. Get a guy that has a year left. Like, that would be huge. That would be huge, right? And be able to retain on it too. Oh God, that would really be something to, hang on the wall kind of thing.
Yeah,
sorry.
I was gonna say, just to close it off here, you mentioned that like Calgary doesn't like to retain. Like if they're getting rid of Hannafin, Tanev, and Mangiapane, I think they would retain one of those. Like they would retain Mangiapane just for like, it's only one. You still have 2 more next year. It's not like this team already, I don't even think, is capped out. Like, they have a little bit of cap space here, and they're carrying like a lot of players. So they're carrying the max amount of players you can have. So it's like like cap is not like an issue for them, right? Like they could make it work.
No,
if they
but
wanted to.
Actually spending money kind of is.
That's
right?
that's a thing, right? So
so I had one that I came to the table with.
Let's hear it.
So apparently the Nashville Predators, they have this goalie named UC Saros. Doesn't have the best numbers this year, but is one of the best goalies in the league. I would say top 5. His skating is unbelievable. He's not that big, but he's just the best top 2 skater in the league. Him, Shesterkin, just one of the best in the league. And Sorokin, sorry, I forgot to add him in there too. Nashville's not too keen on giving him the Connor Hellebuck contract that he probably will be looking for. Connor Hellebuck signed this past offseason. He's one of the best goalies in the league. UC Saros is also one of the best goalies in the league. Why wouldn't he look for that contract? Especially cap hit percentage adjusted, right? Nashville's in the rebuilding stage. From what I've heard, from what I read in this article, I forget who it was. I really have to look. I quote tweeted them. You can find them if you want to. So Nashville's kind of they're listening on UC Saros. They're listening. They have a really good goalie prospect. I can't remember his name. The Russian guy, played for Russia for several World Juniors, loved to throw his stick for some reason. Askarov. There we are. He's really making his ways up through the minors too. He's looking really good. So Nashville's listening on UC Saros. 1 year left on his contract. Eligible for an extension in July. Looking for a big ticket. What would it take for the Leafs to get UC Saros? Do you have an idea?
Maybe this might be crazy, but do you want UC Saros, right? Like, is that a risk that is worth taking? Is that like
He's one of the best goalies in the league?
Yeah, I it's just like what would the cost be? Can it fit?
I'll tell you.
You'd have to send, like, if you do that, you have to send Ilya Samsonov the other way, like 100%, right? Like that's.
Oh, if it's right now, sure.
Yeah. Are you talking about next year?
I don't know. I just thought in general. I forgot about Ilya Samsonov, but yeah, that makes sense.
So no, yeah, but if you'd have
I didn't even think of Ilya Samsonov, but like salary wise,
I feel like that's the only thing that makes sense, because you can't carry Samsonov, Wall, and And you
mentioned him.
Wall.
It'd have to be Walt going the other way.
No, I would not do that.
No?
I feel like that's like something that could potentially lead to a mistake.
Okay.
I think you know how I feel about goaltending. It's like I'd rather pay the cheaper goaltending. I'd rather go for the mystery box because it's cheaper than pay the for sure.
Kind of lost a few games recently because of the mystery box. I don't know. I mean, I'm really big on Joseph Woll, and I think it's going to be huge to have him at like 760 or whatever he's at next year. It's just this is UC Saros, and I really did this. This isn't you're getting Philip Grubauer. Like,
yeah,
UC Saros is better. I know this one. Like, I'm so confident in this. Like, UC Saros is playing for a not great team. He put up fantastic numbers last year. Debatably should have been the Vezina winner last year. If you have the it's just it would cost.
Maybe
I know it would cost Joseph Woll in a first. Maybe a little bit less than a first, but Joseph Woll plus.
But like just speaking this through, would they even want Joseph Woll? Because don't they have that Askarov?
They do have Askarov, so that's where I just think like value wise, it would have to be Joseph Woll plus. So yeah, they do have Askarov. Askarov is young, so if they extend Woll, they have Woll for one more year. Woll is like 4 years older than Askarov, I want to say, maybe 3. So you have that decent tandem because Askarov's not going to be fantastic right off the bat, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like Woll would be like a good starter, similar to what you remember Frederik Andersen.
Yes. Yeah.
Andersen was coming right into his own, coming into being a starting goaltender, was like right on the cusp from when the Leafs traded for him, right? It was a perfect timing. Unfortunately, this and that, and we didn't win dick all, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm just in terms of archetypes. So, like, would Woll be like the perfect scenario where he comes in, he plays they're able to extend him a few years, and then Askarov's able to take over after that and be the starting goalie and be the guy, right? That's why I say Woll, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But again, I don't know how much they would value that. So
yeah,
I think if the Leafs were to go for UC Saros, it would be Joseph Woll and a first.
I would do like I would like consider doing these moves in the offseason. I just don't think it makes sense for this season.
Okay. I think it would make like
it would just be too hard to maneuver, I think.
I mean, you don't know how Woll's going to look after the high ankle sprain. You don't really have time. It's going to be a bit of a gamble when he comes back to rely on him. UC Saros is healthy. I think you would actually have to be paying like a premium to get him at the deadline, obviously. And I think that would make the most sense to me, right? Why would I pay for UC Saros if Woll's going to be okay in the offseason, then go from there? It is something to think about. Maybe other people disagree, but to me, I was like, that is interesting. And I'm a big Woll guy, but it's something to think about.
No, you're right. Honestly, just looking at the numbers, it could be a fit, but again, like I don't think you can make that move this season. I just think that it would be too many moving pieces. Because if you do send Woll back the other way, then you would definitely have to, you'd have to like move Samsonov to another team. Because I don't think like cap wise it would work out, like carrying both him and Woll. Or sorry, him and like Saros and Samsonov.
Well, no, you wouldn't be able to make any other trades, right? Or no, $5 million in. Yeah, I guess that would be dicey. I don't know. I didn't even look at the salary cap wise.
That's all good.
Just something to think about.
No, yes, because Saros is, like you mentioned, it's a good comparison. Because I also thought of like Frederik Andersen, kind of, but like he's almost more established than when we brought in Frederik Andersen. So
he's way more established.
Yeah,
way more established.
Could be interesting.
right? 28. You're going to get him for 28 to 36. He's going to be getting paid like 8.5, 9 mil. So,
Yeah.
But then again, people were surprised when Saros signed 1.5 by 3 or 4 years when they had Rene, because it was like, isn't he supposed to be the next guy up? And then after that weird contract, he signed like 5 mil by 5 years. And again, people were like, what the hell's going on here? Who's your agent? Mr. Rogers? Like, okay. So anyways, that was just something that I brought forth that I thought was a little bit interesting there. So,
yeah.
My other hypothetical trade. If you were to move from hypothetical team A wants Nick Robertson, they offer what for you to actually make the deal happen?
Top 4 defenseman.
Top 4.
Yeah.
Like for Nick Robertson straight up?
Not for Nick Robertson straight up, but there's no added value to the Leafs of you trading Nick Robertson unless it's for a top 4 defenseman or if you get like a top 6 winger. But like not saying
why is that?
Because we need that.
Need what? Explain.
Top 4 defenseman and a top 6 winger. I think that's
okay.
Like that's the only thing that's the only reason why I would like. That's the only reason why you would trade Nick Robertson is to get that back. Like you wouldn't just trade Nick Robertson to get a pick or something for the future. I think.
Mm-hmm. But why is that? You're almost there.
Because he looks good. Because he's looked good so far.
Almost there. Almost there. Nick Robertson's not going to sign for very much in the offseason.
Yeah, that's true. That
potentially, he's an up and down winger. Why is he not playing as much as he should? Well, look at the numbers tonight. He was fucking terrible. Oh, fuck. I gave up swearing for Lent. Damn. Anyways, he's very, very up and down. He's very, very volatile. His paths to the puck in the defensive zone and the offensive zone are terrible. And what do I mean by that? Well, he tries to go for it, and he just tries to go way too hard at it, and he doesn't. And the player with the puck just obviously makes a quick little pivot, and he's 10 miles past him, right? So that's where he gives up too much space, essentially. And he doesn't. He's inconsistent on the puck in terms of getting the puck for himself, right? And making space and creating space off the puck. That's his deficiency, right? His deficiency is not, he can't skate. He's not skilled. He doesn't have a good shot. The physical skills are there. The big thing why you want to keep Nick Robertson is because next season you're in a cap crunch. Next season, what the hell is he going to command in restricted free agency? 1.5, maybe. We're feeling generous, 2, not even, right? That's a guy that you can, we'll give you 1.5 by 2. We'll give you 1.5. That's a guy. If you give him 1.5 by 2, would you be surprised if he outplayed that value?
He should, considering like if you look at, he's only played 64 games in his NHL career. So it's like even 1.5 might even be generous. Like he might take like a league minimum 1-year deal and just.
It's a little light, but.
So he's only played 64 games and he has 22 points in 64 games.
Says he got league minimum last year. League minimums for like, I think a little bit above. You're being
maybe
a little bit above. A little bit.
But like, I don't see why he wouldn't just sign his qualifying offer. Like, what would he get more than his qualifying offer? Because if you're him, you don't want term. You want like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it depends on his thought process.
Yeah, it all depends on that. But
that's where
I see where you're going with this stuff. Yeah.
But that's where the Leafs really need that kind of guy where it's like a healthy bet on a younger player still coming into his own that could easily outplay his contract.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's where you don't want to give Nick Robertson up for a third.
Yeah.
Nick Robertson for a second, it's like.
No, I wouldn't even do it for a second. I again, like, unless it's for a top 4D or a winger. And I'm not saying Nick Robertson is worth a top 4, like 1-for-1 top 4. No, like that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like, it just, the value added just for just trading Nick Robertson, it just doesn't make sense. And
I think the actual market value of Nick Robertson right now is lower than what the Leafs value
to Nick Robertson's value to the Leafs.
For sure. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what would you? So you're saying a top four defensive. So would you do Chris Tanev for Nick Robertson straight up? Even still, like I don't think I would do that unless it's like I don't know if you'd even want to re-sign Chris Tanev, right? Like I don't think that. Like that's dicey. That's dicey for me. Just with all the stuff
Chris
that you
Tanev plus he signs for 2 years at 3.5.
Then maybe that would make more sense.
Maybe, right? Like it's a maybe.
But I'd still be hesitant to do that, and like I feel like you could probably get Tanev for that'd be like the best you could get for Tanev, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the Calgary wise. Anyways, yeah.
That's where Nick Roberts. It's an interesting point the Leafs are at with Nick Robertson right now, and I really wonder what they're going to do with. I think they're going to hang on to him because I don't know what like if you're trading for him, like how are you? Like, oh yeah, I guess we'll take Nick Robertson. You kind of like what would another GM think about that? What would a fan of another team think of Nick Robertson? Like, oh, we got Nick Robertson. He doesn't play in the defensive zone very much. He's not relied upon very heavily. He's been on the cusp of being an NHL player for 3 years. He's been injured majorly 2 years in a row, but he's got some juice to him. He's got something to him that we've seen, right? So it really is a thinker. Unless you hate Nick Robertson. I don't know. Then in that case, I guess. I don't know. My other hypothetical kind of trade, I guess, would be, what did you think of Sean Walker tonight?
I honestly didn't get a good enough look at him. I kind of wasn't really paying attention to him. I should have paid more of attention to him, but I did.
I tried. I didn't really.
Yeah, it's not like there was nothing that stuck out to me. That's good. That's like usually a good sign for a defenseman, though, right? No negative plays. Like I tried to just watch from the Leafs perspective instead of like watching for Sean Walker.
Yeah, it was kind of tough. I agree on that one. I have to get
that was an oopsies on my part for sure. That was an oopsies.
Like I tried, but it was tough. I mean, unless you're watching the game solely for a single player or maybe two,
it's hard.
It's really, really hard to get a good idea of what like a non-Erik Karlsson player really is like.
Yeah, and also like I wanted to talk for this episode to talk about the Fire, like talk about the Flyers game. So it's like I have to like anyways.
I have to pay attention to every other player on the ice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I agree. I didn't see much. I didn't get that great of a look. So there's that. What? I guess my next question, I was going to ask something surrounding Timothy Liljegren. Do you think there's a universe in which he gets traded at the deadline?
I don't think so. The same answer is Nick Robertson, but like even like to a greater extent because he's probably more valuable than Nick Robertson right now. He's more developed.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. What's he going to get in restricted free agency, right? How far is he from free agency, I guess, is another
question. Is arbitration eligible. He's 24 years old.
Okay. Restricted
free agency. I don't know how it even works for like how you even evaluate. I think they just use time on ice to evaluate it for defense. Like I'm actually not even kidding.
We're getting him for free then.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't be surprised if they used Timothy Liljegren.
As a trade asset, yeah. If you get a defenseman back, then that makes sense. But again,
with term, it has to be with term.
Yeah, defenseman
can't be giving up Timothy Liljegren for nothing.
Right? Yeah. I think the goal is to not give up any of those guys, though, if possible.
Yeah, the goal is max the first round pick because you need. I think right now for the Leafs, your greatest asset is guys that can step in next year on cheaper contracts and outplay those contracts. Because you are paying William Nylander 11.5. You are paying John Tavares 11. You're paying Austin Matthews 13.25, I believe it is. Mitch Marner 10.93. Like How crazy of the core four, Mitch Marner is going to be the least paid next year.
That's nuts. Yeah. How the times change.
That's really funny. Yeah. And then Morgan Riley, 7.5. Can't forget him. So, in summation, unless the trade really makes you think, it's probably not going to happen. I think, plain and simple, unless you're trading with, what was the guy's name in Vancouver a couple of years ago?
Oh my God.
What's his name? Not Gillis.
It was Jim Benning.
Jim Benning.
The GOAT.
I didn't like him very much. Anyways, yeah.
The rest of the league did, though.
I think some of these trades are pretty thought-provoking. You can see it from either side. Let us know if you disagree. But do you have any other hypothetical trades on the docket?
Nope, that's it for me.
That's all I had for this week. Joseph Woll is coming back soon. I cannot wait for that.
Just like we predicted. Our sources, incarcerated Bob's going nuts right now. Our sources are better than his. Called this at the beginning of the suspension. Mid-February, he will return. Everyone was saying, he might return January. No, mid-February. Our sources are never wrong.
Anyways, thanks everyone for listening.
Go Leafs, go.